Hey everybody and welcome to Chairman of the Board. Today I'm talking about Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. Now, if you've watched any of my top kind of 50 games of the year videos in the past, you know that this one is a game that I hold very, very highly in my rankings. It's been ranked third, I think, in the last couple of years, so that's how much I think of it. It's one of my favorite games of all time by by a couple of my favorite designers of all time, being Simone Luciani and Daniele Tascini. It's a worker placement game for 2 to 4 players. Takes about 90 minutes to play. So worker placement games, there's so many of them, and I say this a lot, but I always want something that's a bit different with worker placement games. Now this one has a very, very different dynamic to it, because all these worker placement spots are placed on these gears, and basically you start at the bottom of these gears, and as the turns go around, the gears kind of rotate and get higher and higher on those tracks and get bigger rewards in return. But the cool thing is that you have to really kind of manage how you're going to place your workers on these gears, because every turn all you do is you place a worker on those gears or take a worker off those gears. And that timing is a very, very crucial part of the game, because you can leave yourself in very, very difficult situations and back yourself into a corner if you do not manage those kind of placements very, very carefully. So, for example, might want to place one on this gear, which means in 3 turns, I'll pull him off and put another one on here, or unline kind of synergies up and stuff like that. When you initially look at the board, it can seem a bit overwhelming because there's so much different symbols and stuff like that. But ultimately, the game is very, very simple. You've got different strategies you can go down, such as collecting crystal skulls from one of the tracks and then depositing it on another track, which is very interesting because obviously you want to leave one of your workers kind of ticking along on one wheel while the other one is collecting the skull of the other wheel. And it's just, again, that other dimension of timing is just absolutely fascinating. The feel of the game is very, very different. You've got that pressure of having to feed your workers as well. So basically there's a spot on the board where you can unlock more workers to obviously deploy onto the board. But at the same time, you have to be careful in feeding them. And there are ways to mitigate that. There are different kind of technology tiles where you can collect resources and cash them in order to feed your workers for cheaper, or not even feed them at all, which is a huge, very powerful strategy you can go down. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. There's kind of, there's different resources. You've got your gold, your wood, and your stone, and you can trade them in for kind of temporary buildings or kind of, instant bonuses, or for monuments, which are kind of huge end game scoring tiles. And so again, another different strategies you can go down. You've got 3 temple tracks, which all kind of relate to something different. You've got like your resources, you've got your points, and each kind of increment on the board, because the main wheel kind of is divided into quarters, and each of those quarters you either get resources or points. And the higher you are on those temples, you're going to get more points as well. So you want to be at the top at certain times. There's so much to think about in this game, but it's so streamlined and just completely, there's nothing in there that convolutes the game. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot going on, and it's pretty, I wouldn't say it was heavy, but it's kind of up towards the upper end of that medium weight. But yeah, it's just an absolute, just a joy just to explore all the different routes you can go down. So many different things you can do in order to win the game. I had people say there's kind of dominant strategies, but I've not really found one yet, because if more than one person goes for the same strategy, then it kind of waters down that strategy, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm absolutely blown away with the mechanisms in this game. I love it. I love the kind of, as I said, the pressure of having to feed your workers. There's basically a wheel just completely dedicated to collecting food and wood. And if you don't burn the wood down and you can't get to the food, really, really interesting. Then you've got as I said, your kind of technologies as well, which I haven't mentioned, where you can kind of get your little engine building, where when you farm food, you get more food, or when you build buildings, you can get resources, or when you take a crystal skull, you can take another one. And it's absolutely, it's amazing. It is so brilliantly designed, this game, and just one of the most elite games I've played. I absolutely blown away with it, and it still fascinates me. I mean, this is one of the first kind of Euro games that I played, and it still just completely blows me away with its design. It's so interesting. And you know, the gears themselves, they're not just a gimmick. It's not just something just to make this game stand amongst the crowd. It's very, very functional, and it's a huge part of the game, which is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, mechanically, this game is flawless in my opinion. I absolutely love it. The time investment of the game, it takes about an hour and a half with 3 or 4 players. Shorter than that with 2 players. I mean, it really does fly by at 2 players. In fact, only about an hour. A really good timestamp for how deep the game is. Really, really enjoy that. Uptime, really good as well, because as I said, all you're going to do is you're going to place one of your workers or take them off, or you can place more than one worker, but you have to pay a little bit of a fee with your food, which is corn, which is kind of your main kind of, is your fuel throughout the game, really. It's what you need to feed your workers, what you need to place your workers, and so on. So, you've got to really manage that corn very carefully and, make sure that you're not wasting your turns. Replayability wise, really good as well. There's loads of different buildings, there's loads of different monuments, there's different setups you can do where basically you start with different tiles and you can choose which ones you start with. Different strategies to go down. You can go for like a worker heavy kind of strategy where you unlock all your workers, or you can kind of keep it streamlined where you don't have to feed them as much. Aesthetically as well, I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. I love that kind of ancient Aztec feel to the game. It's one of my favourite kind of themes in all games, to be honest. I think it's just such a vibrant kind of culture. And the gears do really fit that. The tracks fit that because they like represent temples. Yeah, I absolutely love the visuals of this game. I think it looks wonderful. And I said the components themselves are really good as well, because I said these wheels are such good quality and they're so functional. Brilliant game. That's it really. I mean, I really cannot praise this game enough. If you like your worker placements, this is definitely one to try at least. I really don't see how you can't enjoy this, or at least appreciate it. It can be a bit of a brain burner at times as you're trying to time your moves. So you're trying to be as efficient as possible, not waste your turns. But yeah, this is one really to behold. A fantastic game, one of my favourite games of all time, and one that I'll be keeping hold of probably for the rest of my life. That's how much I think of Tzolkin the Mayan calendar. As I said, these designers are my favourite designers, and this is one of my favourite games ever. So yeah, I couldn't praise this one high enough. An absolutely phenomenal game. So that concludes my review of Tzolkin the Mayan calendar. If you have liked the video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.